Namaskaram. Mahabharatam, Udyoga Parvam, where everyone tried Bhishma, Drona, Vidura, Sri Narada, so many eminent people advised Duryodhana not to go into war because that will be disastrous both for the Pandavas and Kauravas. Everyone gave the indication that because Krishna is there on the Pandava side, ultimately the victory will be theirs. But nothing moved Duryodhana. He was so confident of himself. He knew the skills and power of Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Ashwathama, Karna. Karna was all hopes were on Karna because Arjuna was the center of power for the Pandavas in war, and Karna was a challenge to Arjuna, almost equal. So Karna was Duryodhana's main hope. So Duryodhana didn't suspect at all that they will lose the war. Anyway, after the peace talks, first Sanjaya to the first it was Vidura, anyway, Vidura, Sanjaya, and from their side, first the Drupada priest, and then Sanjaya himself came back with the message from the Pandavas, and when nothing worked, finally Krishna himself offers to negotiate. He went to each of the Pandavas and took their opinion, and except for Arjuna and Sahadeva, all others were for peace. Arjuna, not that he wanted war, but he knew that that was the only way out. But anyway, Krishna came. Krishna also met Draupadi, who desperately wanted revenge on Dushasana. We said last day that Draupadi had not tied her hair after Dushasana pulled her to the Kaurava assembly, pulling her hair, and Draupadi promised that she would tie her hair only with blood from Duryodhana's chest on Bhima's hands. So that was Draupadi's message. She simply showed her hair to Krishna. Krishna said, "Yeah, I understand you, and I know that it will ultimately happen the way you want." Now, Krishna spoke to Duryodhana, but Duryodhana didn't at all agree. Narada gave the story, told Duryodhana the story of Dambhodbhava. He was a famous king of older times. He won over the entire world, all the kingdoms on earth, and still he was not satisfied that with fight. He thought that he had more power and win over more kingdoms, but he had won over all. He went around challenging individuals for duel, but none agreed to fight with him. And finally, some Brahmins suggested that he could go to Badari, where Nara and Narayana were doing meditation, tapas. So they would offer him a fight. And he went to Badari, and when he spoke, Nara, who was challenged first, Nara said, okay, I shall meet you. And then he simply took a bunch of grasses, Ishika grass. I don't know what Ishika is, but that's what the word, type of grass. And Nara said, I need only these blades of grass to fight with you. You may use any weapon you like. You may use entire army. I shall fight alone. And Dambhodbhava met Nara on the battlefield with an army, and with him a range of weapons, bow and arrow, sword, mace, whatnot. And Nara would simply send an Ishika with mantra, and that will turn out to be a what is it called? Fearful weapon. Some as Agneyastra with fire, some as Varunastra with water. So all divine weapons, they turned out to be divine weapons of fearsome power. And finally, just with those bunch of grass blades, Nara defeated Dambhodbhava completely and humiliated him. Narada, telling this story to Duryodhana, said, and you should learn a lesson from Dambhodbhava. He was powerful, no doubt. He had won over the whole world. But finally, to one sage who was not a warrior, he was doing meditation. He lost to that warrior, and that too, that warrior didn't have any weapons, simply a bunch of grasses. So don't think that you won't be defeated in war. In fact, you will be. When Krishna joins Arjuna, there is no power on earth which can face them. But Duryodhana was still persistent, adamant. Kanva, another sage, told a story of Matali to Duryodhana, to tell him to convey the point that don't be adamant, don't be too proud of yourself, don't be adamant. And Matali's story was, Matali had a pretty daughter. He wanted a suitable groom for her. And Matali thought about all the great kings on earth, and none was good enough for him. None of the gods in heaven. Because Matali was Indra's charioteer. So he could approach any of the gods, but he was not satisfied with any. So he came down to earth, and he was going to Patala, the netherworld, looking for a suitable bride, suitable groom. But on the way, Sri Narada met him, and Narada told him that if you are going to the netherworld, I shall accompany you. I will help you to search among the people of netherworld. Um, and the two went. And Narada the the Asuras live in the nether world, but Matali said, no, let me not search among the Asuras because they are the enemies of gods. When I live in heaven with the gods, it's not right for me to choose Asura as my son-in-law. So he skipped Asuras. So Narada took him to the Nagaloka, the world of the serpents. And there, after a lot of search, Narada found the grandson of a serpent, Aryaka. He was one of the serpent leaders in the family of Airavata. Airavata was one of the major families of the serpents. And Narada introduced Matali to this boy. He was named Sumukha. And Matali was quite pleased with the appearance, behavior, and the family of Sumukha. So Matali decided to have him as the son-in-law. But then this grandfather of Sumukha, Aryaka, said, but there is one problem, that this boy's father was eaten by Garuda recently. And Garuda, while leaving, he said he soon will come, and he wanted Sumukha as his prey next time. So Sumukha had very little life left. That made Matali in a fix. So Matali approached Indra, and Indra gave a long life, blessed this Sumukha with long life. When Garuda came to know of that, Garuda was very angry. He went to Indra and asked him, how could you give long life to someone who is my prey? I had declared that he will be my prey in the near future. Then Vishnu, when he came to know of this, Vishnu wanted to put down Garuda's pride, that he was the strongest in the world. He could challenge anyone. So Vishnu taught a lesson to Garuda. Vishnu just put one hand on Garuda's back, and it was so heavy for Garuda that he fell down. He was almost dead. He couldn't move an inch. So that way Vishnu put down Garuda's pride and convinced him that the world is not as you think. There could be there are people who are better than you in all respects. So don't be too proud. And anyway, with that, having put down Garuda's pride, the marriage between Matali's daughter and Sumukha took place. So that was it is Garuda's pride that he was invincible. He could do anything with anyone, was put down by Vishnu. After this, there is a small story of Galava, a disciple of Vishwamitra, who wanted to give Guru Dakshina to Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra initially said, no, I am quite happy, I don't need a Guru Dakshina. But Guru Dakshina is what the disciple offers as remuneration or reward to the teacher after that studies are over. Vishwamitra knew that Galava was poor, he didn't have anything to offer. But when he went on persistently, went on requesting Vishwamitra, then Vishwamitra said, okay, then bring me 800 horses who are pure white, but all of them should have the left ear black in color. A very choosy specification for a horse. And this guy Galava was in a fix. He didn't know where to look for even 800 white horses, let alone those with 1 ear black. But Garuda helped him. Garuda took him, first of all described whatever are there on all the 4 directions, and finally on Galava's request took Galava to the eastern side, and there he met various kings and got 200 from one king, 200 for another. Like that he managed 600 horses of that prescription, and one of them gave his daughter to Garuda as in lieu of these horses. So Galava went to Vishwamitra and gave these 600 horses and the girl, and asked Vishwamitra to be satisfied with this. And Vishwamitra, anyway, to begin with itself, he didn't want anything. So he blessed Galava. And that is the story of Galava and the story of Krishna's peace talks with Duryodhana. And we end today, our time is up. Namaskaram.